It's Monday, the 25th of April 2016. This is a chart update for OreCorp. OreCorp's a company that I've just been introduced to in the last couple of weeks. The ASX code for this is ORR. Um, they've had a terrific announcement with a maiden JORC resource for their recently acquired project in Tanzania. I've got the latest investor presentation here. So you can see that the measured indicated resources are 2.3 million ounces at a grade of 4 grams a ton, which is really a terrific project. Later on in this presentation, they show the comparison to other projects around the world and mainly in Africa. And you can see that it's the highest grade of any of this sort of group of 20 or so here, and quite a good tonnage as well, with good opportunity to increase the resources. So OreCorp they only own 25% of this once they complete the scoping study. So it's a rather sort of complex deal. Just looking at some of the capital structure of the company, you can see here, these are some of the stats that I really like about this. 113 million shares on issue, which is just really, really low. And you can see here with this terrific run it's had in the last couple of weeks, you can see the turnover of shares. We've got some bars that are well over 3 million shares here. So you might see there's probably been 15 to 20 million shares traded in the last 3 weeks. And this is 113 million shares, and you can see here directors and associates 43%. So the turnover of shares in the last couple of weeks has been major, a massive amount. A third of the floating stock has been sucked up. Some of it's been traded, obviously, but in general, I think this is what you would call tightly held, and I think it's only going to get. That really bodes well for the chart as well. But just looking at some of the experience, one of the other things I like about this team is just the management experience. So most of the guys are all former Equinox Minerals, which was taken up by Barrick Gold for $7 billion, maybe 5 years ago. And the CEO is also former MD of Mantra Resources, which was taken out for over $1 billion US a couple of years ago as well. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to find an ASX junior with this level of experience. They're all very familiar with Tanzania, and they're really putting their money where their mouth is with such a high degree of ownership of the company. So that's probably the main things I like here. You can see they're in a good gold mining area, very close to a huge deposit, which I think is owned by their partner, Acacia Gold, formerly Barrick Gold Africa. So yeah, I think this project, they haven't done any, they've just announced the resource and they're moving to a scoping study. I think that scoping study will reveal some pretty positive economics. So the deal they have is fairly complex. You can see here, so here's the sort of the timeline. I think this timeline is, you can see here they're saying they're going to compress the timeline. And I think they probably want to try to move this, to get the market more interested. They want to try and get this into a financing decision by the end of next year, say end of 2017. Now I think the deal is that they get 25% of the project and will move to 51% unless Acacia elects to buy back that 25% interest. They have to buy it back at 3 to 6 times the original earn and spend. So basically what that means is if there's some numbers in the original announcement that you can see on 22nd of September. I won't show that here, but basically it means that 25% stake is probably going to be valued between $50 and $70 million, I think, obviously dependent on the NPV that they come up with in the definitive feasibility study. But this is such a high quality project that I think even if your upside is limited to 25% of a project, if Acacia elects to maintain the majority interest, I think there's tremendous. The value of this project is really tremendous, and the management experience sort of trumps any. It's never going to be a $1 billion company unless the gold price goes to the moon. But I mean, in terms of higher probability plays, I think this is one that you want to look at a bit harder. On the chart, this is I've talked about in these videos in Thomas Bukowski's book, Encyclopedia of Chart Patterns. He talks a lot about the high tight flag, and the basis for that formation is a 90% move to a high, and then a slight pullback in the top sort of 20-25% of that range, and then a breakout above it. Once it breaks above the previous high, you're looking for it to repeat the move. So, another, say, 10 to 20 cents here is the 10 to 30 cents is the original move. You're looking for it to break out above that and go, once it gets above 30, to go toward 50, I guess. So, that's where I think this could go. I'll just try and there we go. So, I mean, this has actually got the highest probability of any chart pattern in that book. So on those probabilities, number one chart pattern in any market is a high tight flag. So I think with the scoping study coming out maybe toward the end of this year, the other thing about that project is just the drilling database is fantastic. So they don't have to spend a lot of money doing a lot of drilling. It's really just a re-estimation exercise and the economics of the project. So I really like that. I think this is a company that's sort of a little bit under the radar. There's not a lot of interest on the forums, but the quality of management, I think, will attract a lot of sophisticated investors, and that's, you want to follow that smart money, especially with that high degree of director ownership as well, and their previous management experience.